Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Maria Smyer. I'm the Hispanic Resource Specialist here at the Pueblo City County Library District. And thank you for joining us in Community Connections. So today we have Fecal Ryder from Catholic Charities, and she is our Immigration Program Coordinator and DOJ Immigration Counselor. She has two titles, and she is awesome. And thank you so much for joining me, Fiki.
Thank you.
We also have Sergeant Franklin with the Pueblo Police Department. Thank you so much, Sergeant, for joining us today as well.
Thank you for the invite.
So today our program is called Know Your Rights. And so at 3:30, we will switch to Spanish. But right now we will be starting all the questions in English, our conversation. So one thing that I wanted to ask you is, where do our rights come from? Where do my rights come from?
I'm gonna have Sajjan answer that one.
So our rights come from the Bill of Rights. We're fortunate in this country to have some really smart men that came up with these Bill of Rights. And then on top of it is our system of government. It gives us a lot of rights that other places that don't exist. So that's kind of where we get them, is the start of the Bill of Rights. And then, you know, the courts obviously get involved and they say this is what additional rights we have. Because, you know, things change. Back in the day, they didn't worry about cell phones and stuff like that. So, yeah, it evolves and it changes all the time.
Yeah. And these are rights that belong to everyone in the United States, including non-citizens, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, the fact of being here, you have the same rights as the guy that was American citizen, born here, whatever. And that's what makes this country great, is you have the same rights as everybody else, just being here.
Okay. So another question I had for you is, do I have to answer questions when asked by law enforcement officers?
No, you do not. Generally speaking, depending on what the situation is, they may be asking you things as a witness. They might be asking you things as a victim, and they might even be asking you things as a suspect. Obviously, if you're in that suspect category, you got to choose your words wisely and think about what you want to say, even if you want to say anything.
And then another question is immigration and customs enforcement, which we call ICE, are they different from the police?
Yes, distinctly different. They have two different missions. I know there's some departments that kind of work in collaboration with ICE or immigration. We're not one of them. It's written in our policy where if they obviously call us for assistance or help with like a major incident, we're going to help them because they're law enforcement officers like we are. But we'll not be involved with roundups or stuff like that, because they have their mission and we have our mission, and we don't want to confuse their mission with our mission, because our mission is the safety of the community. And if people that are undocumented, or maybe their immigration status is not quite defined, we don't want them to have the issue of, well, I can't call the police because of this, or I can't call the police because of that. We want to encourage them to contact us, especially if they're a victim, to contact us, because we want to help them. And unfortunately, there's some people that take advantage of the language barrier and immigration status to victimize these people because they think they could get away with it.
Yeah, and also just to add on that one, as well, the ICE Immigration Custom Enforcement. Their mission is to protect America from the cross-border crimes and illegal immigration that threatens the national security and public safety. So ICE was created following the attack of the United States on September 11, 2021. And ICE is mostly people here, they know that ICE is the agency that is apprehending those who are unlawful present or who have violated the U.S. Laws, with a particular focus on criminal or gang members, and those who have re-entered in the United States after a previous deportation.
Okay.
So they're totally different from the police, yeah.
Yeah, and that's another question I have. So if an ICE officer detains me and asks me questions, do I have to answer those questions if it's immigration?
So if you're arrested by ICE and taken into detention, you can request like a phone call so that you can call your emergency contact, like families, attorneys, religious members, community organization, or even the consulate. You have the right to remain silent, and being detained does not mean that you have to answer the questions. So if you choose to remain silent, you have to say so loudly that you wish to remain silent. Or in other cases, you can also show them the Know Your Rights card. There's usually like the red cards that has Know Your Rights. It usually has it written in there that I choose to remain silent. You have the right to refuse to sign anything before you speak with your attorney or accredited rep in your immigration. If you have like an immigration status that they are aware of, and until you speak to your attorney, it is wise for you to remain silent.
Okay. And then just to let everyone know, here at the Rawlings Library in the Hispanic Resource Center, we are going to have, we have those cards for the Know Your Rights in both English and Spanish, so that if you needed to know all of that information, you can pick it up at the Hispanic Resource Center at
Oh,
Rawlings.
perfect. That's wonderful. Yes. And I was going to say that too, that we also have those cards for those people who feel like they also need the cards. We have them in the office, the red cards.
Okay, great, great. So another question I have is, can a police officer stop me on the street?
So a police officer can stop you on the street, but they need to have reasonable suspicion that you're involved with criminal activity. Besides that, it needs to be a mutual consent. So you need to be, he needs to allow you to leave if you want to leave. So he can say hi to you, and if you engage with him, well, that way he can stop you. Or if he suspects you're involved in a crime. But if he's not, the question to ask is, am I being detained? And then, he has to tell you at that point whether you're detained or not. And if you are detained, that's something that, they're probably suspecting you of something.
And what if I'm in my car, and even if it's not my car, like even if I'm the passenger in the car, does the police have the right to stop me?
It depends, because on the situation with the passenger, obviously if you're a driver and it involves a moving violation, you're detained till they write you a ticket or let you go. As a passenger, you can get out and walk away.
Oh, okay. And what do you recommend me doing if I am arrested by the police?
If you are arrested, it would probably be a good idea to get an attorney to, figure out, exactly what the case is against you and start working on your defense.
And what options do I have if I am treated badly by a police officer or even by an ICE officer?
So the police department, like our rank structure is corporal, sergeant. Sergeant is the first level of supervisors. If you feel like you're mistreated or you're not treated with respect, you should be filing a complaint. In our department, we take complaints any way you can think of. We take emails, we take texts, we take phone calls, we'll take letters, we'll take, your complaint any way you want to give it to us, we'll take it and we'll look into it. We're one of the first departments in the state of Colorado to get body-worn cameras. So whenever we do get that complaint, we'll obviously go, like they say in the sports, go to the tape and see what the tape indicates. And we'll give you a disposition of kind of, well, this is what we found out and this is what's going on with this. And we'll investigate it. And I encourage people to do that because the thing is, we deal with people in stressful situations, but at the same time, we should always be professional.
Is that, is that the same with ICE?
So what we advise our clients here and the community is that with ICE, they can document everything that they see or how they're treated. If there are any witnesses, then they can document that there was a witness, who, and just to make sure that the witnesses that they are documenting is somebody who also has status and not status and is wanted by ICE as well. So by documenting that, you are then give that information to your attorney who's going to then represent you. And then that will then be stated in front of the immigration judge on how you were treated. And then they can move forward with that.
Okay. Thank you. And what do you recommend doing if an immigration officer arrests me, an ICE officer?
So I think we briefly talked about it where I mentioned that if you're arrested, it's best if you have emergency contact for your family. That way you can contact them. And like I said as well, if you're arrested, you also have rights. Like the sergeant say, it doesn't matter if you are documented or undocumented, we all have the same rights. So you have the right to remain silent, and also you have the right to refuse to sign any document, especially if it's the document that you don't understand or it's in the language that you don't understand, until you speak to an attorney or your accredited rep to represent you.
And what if I am charged with a crime?
I think that goes back to with the attorney. If you get an attorney, because on the front end they can, depending on the circumstances, help you a lot better than waiting to find out what's going on. With an attorney, they can maybe even resolve the issue before it gets to something serious.
Okay. And can you explain what is a warrant? And do I have to answer questions when a warrant is presented?
So there's different kind of warrants. There's an arrest warrant, and that basically says that the person is to be arrested, and on that paper it lists the charge of what you're being arrested for. And then there's search warrants, and that basically says that you have an authority to search something that a judge signs. But you don't have to answer questions, either one of those. That's one of your rights is you have, if you're in custody and they're questioning you, they have to read you your rights. And I'm sure most people know most of them because they've seen it on TV. And it's kind of the way it is, but not really, because the thing is they'll, like in our department, and that's I emphasize our department because each department is different. We have to read your rights from a card. And the reason we do that is it's uniformity and everybody understands this is what your rights are.
And what is a subpoena? And do I have to answer questions with a subpoena?
So a subpoena is a piece of paper that says you have to go to court. Depending on what kind of subpoena it is, you could be compelled to testify, you could be compelled to answer questions. It's a different circumstance. You could get a subpoena for a grand jury, and that involves criminal activity, or it could be involved criminal activity, but it's closed doors. So basically the people are listening to what you have to say, and the district attorney's presenting a case, but it's not necessarily open to the public. So in some ways with a subpoena, you could be compelled to testify, but it depends on what kind of subpoena it is.
And I have a question, a leading question for Sergeant. So with the subpoena, is it usually people, are they like asked their status, immigration status when they're subpoenaed?
Generally not. Every once in a while, I'm confused of why they even ask that, to be honest with you, because that has nothing to do with nothing. But for some reason, there's some law enforcement that want to know whether people have papers or not. And that has nothing to do with anything. I mean, it really doesn't, but for some people, they really want to know. It's like a question that they have to have the answer to. And in most situations, there's really no need to know that, or to even for it to come up.
Another question I have is, can law enforcement search my home?
So law enforcement can search your home under two circumstances. One, that you give them consent to search, or they have a search warrant to search. And well, actually there's three. So if there's something that they, for trying to remember the exact terminology, basically for public safety, if they need to like go in your house and do something for public safety, they can. Like trying to think of an example.
Like a standoff across the street, and you're
something like that, yeah. Where, you know what I mean, they have to go in there like right now. That's the third one, but that's pretty rare. Most of the time, it's either going to involve consent or a search warrant. And to be honest with you, even a big situation like that, once it's calmed down, you would have to apply for a search warrant to go in there.
Oh, okay. And another question I have for you is, what would the difference be as well? Like if the police come to my house or ICE comes to my house, if ICE wants to come into my house, would they need to have a warrant to come in?
Yes. Like I say, that public safety exception is, I'll give you an example. If I know John Smith is wanted, I go to the door, I knock on the door, John Smith answers the door, and I tell him to come out so I can arrest him, and he runs in the house, I can run in after John Smith and arrest him if it's his house. But if it isn't his house, I can't go in and get him. So I'm not sure exactly how that would work with immigration, but I'm thinking they would probably be stuck with getting a search warrant also.
Yeah, it's all the same. We always tell people that if they come knocking on the door, they have to request for and they request to search for their home. Before they open the door, ask if they have a warrant, and if they answer no, then you have the right to refuse to let them in the house, in your home. You also have the right to tell them that you do not want to talk to them and that you want to remain silent. So it all goes the same as what the sergeants say, that they have to have a warrant. If they don't have it, then they cannot come into that home. And if they claim they do have a warrant, sometimes, we also tell our clients that they should ask to see that warrant and see that it's them that are listed on that warrant, and also that is the address is the right address for the home that needs to be searched as well. And then if it's them, then they should open the door and have them search the home because they have a warrant. But they should also quickly call their lawyer as soon as possible.
And Vicky, would you recommend, like, if ICE was to arrest someone, that the person that they were going to arrest, like if they're going to arrest me, that I should have plans ahead of time of who can take care of my children? Like, because if I'm going to be detained, I need to have, like, be prepared for
Right.
that.
Yeah, I actually recommend that. We tell our clients that as well. We do have what it's called an emergency plan, where we give it away to our clients, where they can then put down the emergency information for whoever they need to call. At the same time as well, they have like some notarized documents where they authorize who has to take care of the kids if they have any minor children in there. But if there's like a big family and there's already like older children and all that, then the older children would take care of the younger children. But yes, it is wise to have a plan in case you are apprehended or detained by ICE.
And then my next question is, do I need to answer questions about my immigration status with either ICE or the police about where I was born, where I live, whether I'm a U.S. citizen, those types of questions?
This kind of goes back to what I was saying before. They might ask where you were born and where you're from, and it's just sort of a thing to verifying your identity. But technically, with immigration status, that really doesn't have anything to do with, especially if it's a policeman, what they're doing. Obviously, immigration, they would want to know those questions. Whether you would answer that or not, I mean, I would probably say I'd have to defer to somebody else. But yeah, the police, they might ask you, but just in identifying way. If they ask any other way, I mean, I would be concerned as well. Why would you need to know that?
Right. And then just to add on that, like if you don't answer them and if you're a U.S. citizen, that's perfect. If you may say that, and then if you're not a U.S. citizen and then you falsely claim citizenship, then that's a problem for those people who are not a U.S. citizen. So if you are to answer questions, it should not be any false information to law enforcement. People always have the right to speak to an attorney before answering any questions, especially if it has to be related with your immigration status. Immigration law is really complicated, and you could have problems without even realizing it, or you may have rights which you're not even aware of. So really, if people don't know, if they are in Pueblo and they're not sure, they can call our office for any legal advice, or if they have an attorney, they should just refer to the attorneys. Some of the questions that they may answer if you don't have a status might lead you to having complications when you're applying for your immigration applications.
Okay. And would I have to show my immigration documents to the police or to ICE or any other law enforcement officer? Is that a requirement?
Maybe an aspect of identifying yourself for the police, but I don't know about immigration.
Well, immigration officers really should not stop you and require you to answer any questions about your immigration status unless if they have a reasonable suspicion that you are not legally in the United States, or that you are committing or about to commit a crime. I mean, if the officer stops you to request you of your immigration document and you are a non-citizen, you may ask whether the request is voluntary sometimes. And if it's voluntary, you have the right to terminate the conversation with the officer and just walk away. If you are told that it's not voluntary, you should provide any valid immigration documents to the officer, and do not use any false documentation, because like I said, that is not good for your immigration status when you're about to apply for it. So really, like, the federal law requires that a non-citizen who is the age of 18 and older, or who have been issued a valid U.S. immigration document, should always carry those documents with them. These immigration documents are often called like a green card, or if you're like visiting, you also have like a cross-border card, or you might have like a they call it a permiso in Spanish, like a permit where you're supposed to just stay here for 6 months and you're visiting, you're going back. So it is wise that you carry those documents, and also it is wise that you keep a copy of those documents in a safe place.
Thank you. If I am arrested for immigration violations, do I have the right to a hearing before an immigration judge to defend myself against deportation charges?
So to that question, it's a yes. In most cases, only an immigration judge can order you to be deported. But if you waive your rights and sign something that's called stipulated removal over, or you take a voluntary departure agreeing to leave the country, you could be deported without a hearing. So it is important that you do not sign anything without talking to an attorney or an accredited representative.
Can I also be detained while my immigration case is happening?
So to that question, yes, you can be detained. The government has the right to detain you during the immigration proceedings, but most people are eligible to be released on a bond or other condition that might require you to report frequently to the immigration officials. If you're denied of a release after you are arrested for an immigration violation, ask for a bond or hearing before the immigration judge. And in many cases, an immigration judge can order that. Then you can be released, or that bond can be lowered as well. So just having that immigration case happening or in process with the immigration, it doesn't mean that you already have a status or you already have a benefit. It just means that it's still pending. So your legal status, if it was like undocumented, you're still undocumented, even if you have something going on with the immigration, until it is then proven that you are then approved and then you have a status.
So do either one of you have any recommendations for people with more questions that we couldn't come with? I was going to put the Know Your Rights website on the chat, but I was also wanting to know, because not on our website, I'm sorry, in the chat, I was going to put the website for Know Your Rights, so that if they wanted to see where they could go on the internet to look up more questions, more answers. But locally, like Fiki, you said that they could contact the Catholic Charities Immigration Office.
Yes.
What would the phone number for your office?
So our phone number is 719-543-1741. And we are located at 516 North Main Street.
All right. So I put it in twice, your phone number. And then it's 114 North Main Street.
116.
Oh, 116. 116 North Main Street here in Pueblo. And that's the Catholic Charities office. And you guys are closed on Wednesdays, right?
Yes. we switched it. We're now closed on Fridays. So Wednesdays we open.
Okay.
Our office is open on Fridays, but it's closed for clients on Fridays because we'll be doing a lot of paperwork.
Okay. All right.
And then, you know, our dispatch number is 553-2502. The only thing is, you know, like when it comes to questions, questions can easily be turned into legal advice. So we got to be careful with that. And I just give that warning because a lot of people call us and, well, can I do this? Well, you're asking a legal question. I can't give you legal advice. So
we have that same issue at the library, but mainly not for legal, but well, sometimes for legal advice, but they're usually asking for tax advice. And, you know, I don't even do my own taxes. So why would I advise you, you know? But
yeah, I know. Talking about that, we only give legal advice when it comes to immigration. So if it's like a criminal case, so it's like a family thing, like adoption and all that, we don't give advice on that one as well. Just immigration, and that's it.
Yeah, but you both do a wonderful job. I love the Pueblo Police Department, and I love the Immigration Office here in Catholic Charities. You are amazing for our community, and I really appreciate your time today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we're going to take a short break, and then Sylvia, she's our immigration assistant. She'll be joining us shortly here. So I'm going to switch to Spanish real quick to just let them know Sylvia's coming. So gracias por estar con nosotros esta tarde. Hoy vamos a tener un poquito de descanso y Silvia va a regresar con nosotros y vamos a repetir todas estas preguntas en español. Gracias. Thank you. All right. Hi, Silvia.
Hola, muy buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Hoy estamos con Sergeant Franklin Ortega y con Silvia. Silvia trabaja por Caridades Católicos en la Oficina de Inmigración. Ella es una asistente de inmigración. Sergeant Franklin Ortega va a regresar con nosotros pronto, pero él... hola, Sergeant Franklin.
Hola, muy buenas tardes.
Y él está con nosotros. Él es desde la Oficina de Departamento de Policía aquí en Pueblo. Y él nos va a ayudar a responder a nuestras preguntas hoy. Si ustedes tienen preguntas, me pueden preguntar también. Y podemos tratar de responder. So Silvia, mi primer pregunta va a ser, ¿de dónde vienen mis derechos?
Los derechos de nosotros vienen de la Constitución principalmente. Esa es mi respuesta. Yo no sé si parece que el sargento Ortega tiene otra respuesta.
No. Y es para todas las personas aquí, no importa si eres ciudadano o no, ¿verdad?
Así es.
Okay. Una pregunta que tengo es, si necesito responder preguntas de la policía. Si la policía me preguntan algo, ¿tengo que responder o puedo estar con silencio?
No tienes que preguntar, no tienes que contestar las preguntas de un policía. Cuando un policía está en contacto con usted, tiene todos los derechos que hay.
También tengo una pregunta. ¿Qué tipo de policía o no policía, pero oficiales me pueden preguntar cosas? Porque no solo es la policía, ¿verdad? Tenemos Inmigración, que se llama ICE. Ellos también pueden preguntarme algo y es necesario que yo tengo que responderlos.
Tenemos personas que nos pueden hacer preguntas en la calle o en el lugar donde estamos, son las personas de inmigración, de la policía o del FBI. Y puede ser, como le dije, en diferentes lugares donde nos encontremos.
También quiero saber si una oficial de la policía o oficial de ICE puede pararme en el calle y preguntarme cosas y me puede detener en el calle.
Si tiene alguna sospecha, sí lo puede detener.
Y también si estoy en mi coche y estoy manejando, ¿me pueden parar?
Oficial Ortega, ¿pudiera ayudarnos?
Sí. Si te paran, estás detenido hasta que terminan, que te dan la multa o que te dejan ir, estás detenido.
Y si soy una pasajero, si no estoy manejando y un pasajero, ¿también me tienen que detener?
En casi todos los casos, no. Como pasajero, si el caso que están investigando no se pertenece a los pasajeros, sí puedes ir.
¿Y qué debo de hacer si estoy detenido de la policía? ¿Qué debo de hacer?
Pues primeramente preguntar por qué estoy detenido, de qué me acusan, de qué están investigando. Eso serían mis preguntas si la policía me detiene a mí.
Y si si no es la policía, si es ICE, Inmigración, ¿qué derechos tengo cuando me detienen?
Ok, si es arrestado por ICE, y lo llevan a un centro de detención, usted puede solicitar hacer una llamada telefónica para que pueda llamar a su contacto de emergencia, por ejemplo, a su familia, a su abogado, a miembros de una organización religiosa como es Caridades Católicas, ¿verdad? Al consulado, pero también tiene derecho de permanecer en silencio. Estar detenido no significa que tenga que responder preguntas. Diga en voz alta si desea permanecer en silencio, o sea, lo que le tienen que decir, quiero permanecer en silencio, no tengo nada para decir, o muestre su tarjeta de conozca sus derechos. Creo que usted nos proporcionó una información de dónde poder recoger ese tipo de tarjetas.
Sí, tenemos esa información en la biblioteca Rawlings, en el segundo piso, donde tenemos el Centro de Hispanos Recursos. Y ahí tenemos en inglés, tenemos en español y algunos otros idiomas también para que gente pueden ver. Si tienen más preguntas o porque no estoy preguntando todo, porque hay muchas preguntas, pueden ver las respuestas y las preguntas ahí. y llevarlo a la casa. También tengo preguntas si la policía me maltratan, ¿qué opciones tengo?
Pues si la policía te maltrata, nuestro departamento acepta quejas de cualquier manera, de correo electrónico, carta, texto, llamada, lo que sea. Y queremos recibir esas quejas porque lo que sucede es que los policías investigan casos complicados, con muchas emociones, pero siempre deben de ser profesionales y si no son, queremos saber para arreglar ese asunto. Lo malo es que mucha gente piensa que una persona que no tiene documentos o que habla otro idioma, que yo puedo aprovechar de esta persona, maltratarlo y que nada me pasa. Pero no debe ser así. Y la única manera para que entiendan esas personas es que se quejan, que este oficial me maltrató y no está bien.
Gracias. ¿Y qué pasa cuando estoy acusado de un delito?
Pues primeramente hay que buscar un abogado, porque estos casos se pueden ser complicados y necesitas ayuda a resolver lo que te acusan.
¿Y qué es un orden? ¿Y tengo que responder las preguntas de un orden, de un warrant?
Como hay diferentes órdenes, hay un orden de arresto, hay un orden de revisión. De eso no se trata de hablar. Eso son cosas que con un orden de arresto te van a arrestar porque un juez dijo arresta a esta persona, y con un orden de revisión te van a revisar tu casa, tu carro, lo que sea, pero no se trata nada de obligarte a hablar porque siempre tienes ese derecho de no hablar.
¿Y qué es una citación? Y tengo que responder las preguntas. Citación subpoena.
Sí, un subpoena, hay varios subpoenas. Hay uno que llegas a corte y nomás quieren saber lo que usted sabe, como puede ser de testigo o a otra cosa, pero no tienes que contestar. Pero la otra manera de un subpoena, como de, no sé cómo se dice en español, pero grand jury, eso, con esa situación de un grand jury, posiblemente te pueden hacer contestar las preguntas a la fuerza.
Y puede ser que no sé exactamente cómo preguntar eso. Silvia. Can law enforcement search my home?
Y la policía puede revisar a su casa
Revisar.
solamente hay 3 condiciones: con su consentimiento, con un orden de revisión o una situación que es una emergencia pública y por eso tienen que meter a su casa. Esas 3 situaciones.
¿Qué debo de hacer si oficiales entran en mi casa o vienen a mi casa? Están tocando en la puerta.
Pues siempre es como si le das permiso meter a su casa o si tienen un orden de revisión.
¿Y hay algo diferente entre ICE y la policía cuando vienen a la casa?
Es lo mismo.
Oh.
Es exactamente lo mismo. O sea, no se tiene que abrir la puerta hasta que se identifiquen de dónde vienen. uno puede por debajo de la puerta o puede por un lado o en la ventana o por el ojo de la puerta, puede ver, puede tratar de leer que efectivamente es ese lugar al que van a ellos directamente. Y si no, si los oficiales, cuando los oficiales llegan a entrar, porque ya vio usted, ya verificó que lo que traen es para usted, ¿verdad? Entonces, diga que usted no lo consiente o que lo consiente, o sea, depende como sea el momento, ¿verdad? Usted tiene siempre derecho de permanecer silencio y también si los oficiales llegan a entrar a su casa, usted tiene derecho de decirles, tengo niños, tengo ancianos, tengo enfermos en casa.
También, Silvia,
Sí.
¿tienes recomendaciones si ICE viene a la casa, lo dejas que entran y te arrestan y estás detenido con ICE? Es importante que la gente tiene un plan, porque si tienen niños o tienen algo que depende de ellos, que dependen de esta persona que está ya detenido, ¿qué deben de tener un plan antes de esto pasa?
Es muy recomendable que cada familia tenga un plan de emergencia. El plan de emergencia donde pone toda la información, donde que se inscriba al consulado también para que tengan su información, que tenga sus documentos importantes, vamos a decir las actas de nacimiento de los niños, por si acaso a usted lo tienen que llevar a un centro de confinamiento, ¿verdad? Mientras lo van a tener. Sí es muy importante que las familias tengan su plan de emergencia.
También quiero saber si una persona de ICE o de la policía me preguntan mi estado de migración, ¿tengo que responder? Si soy ciudadano, de dónde vivo y de dónde nací, ¿es necesario responder?
No tiene que responder a ninguna de las preguntas anteriores si no desea responderlas. Es opcional, ¿verdad? Pero si usted es ciudadano estadounidense, puede decirlo. Quizás si usted es un ciudadano y lo hace, dice que se va a evitar más interrogatorios y ya lo van a dejar ir, ¿verdad? Pero nunca reclame que es un ciudadano americano si usted no lo es, porque eso lo puede meter en unos problemas futuros bastante grandes. Siempre tiene el derecho de hablar con un abogado, especialmente antes de responder las preguntas sobre su estado migratorio. La ley de inmigración es muy complicada y hay veces hay derechos de los cuales no somos conscientes, no sabemos que existen derechos para nosotros. Por eso es mejor estar informado y asesorado por un abogado, por una organización, como lo dijimos hace ratito. Dice, y más que nada es eso, que siempre debemos estar informados.
También quiero saber si es necesario enseñar mis documentos de inmigración.
La policía y los oficiales de inmigración no deben de detenerlo y exigirle que responda a preguntas sobre su estado migratorio, a menos que tengan una sospecha razonable que usted no tiene sus documentos o que está cometiendo un delito grave. Si un oficial le detiene a usted y le solicita sus documentos y usted no es ciudadano, le puede preguntar si puede responder o no puede responder, porque hay oficiales que actúan de diferente manera. Entonces, si el oficial le dice que está bien, que puede irse, entonces usted despacitamente retírese del lugar, y si no, pues debe proporcionar cualquier documento de inmigración válido al oficial. La ley federal requiere que los no ciudadanos que tienen 18 años o más y que han recibido documentos de inmigración válidos de los Estados Unidos lleven estos documentos con ellos. Estos documentos de inmigración a menudo se llaman documentos de registro de extranjero. El tipo que debe de llevar depende de su estado migratorio. Algunos ejemplos son, por ejemplo, los que tienen DACA, los que tienen su tarjeta de residencia, los que tienen su ciudad con su licencia de manejar se pueden identificar. También algunos están aquí de visita, que nada más traen su permiso de visitantes, aunque ahorita todavía está cerrada la frontera, ¿verdad? Pero esos son los documentos. Si usted no los lleva con usted, puede que sea un delito menor, pero si tiene los documentos y los tiene en la casa y algún oficial los pide, muéstrelos. Es mejor que los muestre y que guarde una copia en sus documentos, de esos documentos en un lugar seguro, ya sea en su casa, ya sea, qué sé yo, en una caja de seguridad con algún familiar.
Y la policía solamente debe preguntar por documentos así, como si están tratando de identificarte, si no tienes otros documentos que demuestran quién eres. Pero eso de hacer preguntas de tu estatus migratorio y todo eso, para mí no entiendo para qué lo van a querer o necesitar, pero hay muchos que le interesa mucho si tienes papeles o no. Para mí, yo pienso como si no tienes, para saber que eres menos o que te pueden tratar de otra manera, para mí.
También quiero saber si estoy detenido de violaciones de inmigración, ¿tengo derecho para una audiencia judicial en frente de un juez de inmigración para defenderme antes que estoy deportado?
Sí, así es. En la mayoría de los casos, solo un juez de inmigración puede ordenar su deportación. Pero si renuncia a sus derechos y firma algo llamado orden de deportación estipulada o toma salida voluntaria, ahí está usted aceptando abandonar el país. Entonces, cuando es deportado sin una audiencia, hay algunas razones por las que una persona podría no tener derecho a ver a un juez de inmigración. Pero incluso si le dicen que esta es su situación, primero debe hablar con un abogado de inmediato. Los oficiales de inmigración no siempre saben o le dicen sobre las excepciones que pueden aplicarse para usted. Y usted podría tener derechos que usted no conoce nuevamente, ¿verdad? Además, es muy importante que le diga al oficial y se comunique con un abogado si teme la persecución o la tortura en su país de origen. Tiene derechos adicionales. Si tiene este tipo de miedos, es posible que pueda ganar el derecho a permanecer en Estados Unidos.
También quiero saber si puedo ser detenido cuando mi caso de inmigración está pasando.
Está en vigor, sí. El gobierno puede tener el derecho de detenerlo durante sus procedimientos de inmigración, María. Pero la mayoría de las personas son elegibles para ser liberadas bajo fianza u otras condiciones que podrían requerir que se informe periódicamente a los funcionarios de inmigración. Si se le niega la liberación después de ser arrestado por una violación de inmigración, solicite una audiencia de fianza ante un juez de inmigración. En muchos de los casos, un juez de inmigración puede ordenar que usted sea liberado o que su fianza sea reducida. Muchas veces es un precio más alto y cuando usted lo solicita le pueden rebajar la fianza.
Gracias, Silvia.
Sí, por nada.
¿Hay algo que ustedes quieren decir sobre la policía o sobre su oficina? En el chat tenemos el número, Sergeant Ortega nos dio el número de dispatch que pueden llamar y eso no es, no es, ¿cómo se dice? Legal advice.
Ya, como para dar información estamos disponibles, pero muchas veces las preguntas que nos hacen no son preguntas, quieren consejos legales. No podemos dar consejos legales, pero podemos contestar preguntas. Pero lo malo es que muchas veces las preguntas son consejos legales.
Sí, sí, a veces nos pasa aquí también. Y también en el chat tengo el dirección y el número de la Oficina de Inmigración de Caridades Católicas. Y ustedes están cerrados los viernes.
Así es.
María,
pero cerrado. Quisiera dar la dirección. La dirección es 516 North Main Street.
Yo puse 1.
Sí.
516
North Main Street.
Main Street. Ok. Ahora ya está. La dirección correcta. Bueno, muchas gracias Silvia y muchas gracias Sargent Ortega por estar con nosotros hoy.
No, gracias a ustedes por recibirnos en sus hogares, porque yo sé que algunas personas van a estar en sus hogares, y a ustedes por darnos la oportunidad de informar a la comunidad.
Sí. Ustedes tienen trabajos muy importantes con la ciudad de Pueblo y lo agradezco mucho.
Muchas gracias.
Sí, gracias. Bueno, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy y a ver si tienen preguntas, ya ven en el chat, pueden contactar hablar con Caridades Católicos y recuerda que no puedes hablar con la policía, pero que no es consejos legales. Entonces también pueden hablar con un abogado o un licenciado. Gracias por estar con nosotros y nos vemos hasta el próximo.
Muy bien.
Okay. Hey, Vicky.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. They just like hung up right away, so I didn't get to say thank you.
I know. It's okay. I'm sure
they came back.
I'm sure they're busy.
Yeah, they are. But that's very nice that Sergeant Ortega took his time to be with us today.
I know.
Very sweet.
Okay, well, I gotta rush, but
right.
let us know what you want to do next. Okay.
And I'll let you know. I'll send you guys an email about the numbers.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.